I've had people whom through YouTube have hired me to train them and things just because I built that trust. So I know personally from my business I've seen it, and I know from my other clients that they sell their products faster because they have a product overview video.
Yeah.
People remember 90% of the information given in a video.
Wow, that's amazing. Can you say that one more time?
People remember 90% of the information given in a video comparative to only 20% when read and 30% when heard, because you're able to use multiple senses.
Welcome to the Sold Out Sales Podcast, the podcast that will equip both the seasoned sales professional and the more reluctant seller with mindset shifts and strategies needed to succeed in a competitive marketplace. Is it something that's just innate? Are there processes or systems that you've put in place to be so well or so great at being able to stay in touch and communicate with people and convert new clients, in all honesty?
Yeah. Well, first, it's the golden rule, treat people the way you want to be treated is number one.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, so anytime I speak to someone, it's how I expect to be spoken to.
Yeah.
I personally love getting followed up with on things, even if I'm not ready to buy, I appreciate the, hey, we had a conversation about. And so I like it. So I want to do that to other people. But then it's also having a team.
Yeah.
And so at the start, it was just myself and putting in the calendar, like follow up, on this date about XYZ, and just making sure you have those personal notes about what is it exactly you're talking about. So it's not just a generic, like, popping by, hi, how are you?
Right.
You want to make those, personal comments. But then once you grow and you're not able to do everything, it is adding a team. And so it's having someone that you can train and let them know, okay, here's the CRM system. Here's where you'll see the notes about the last discussion.
Yes.
Bring up comments, and then it's training that. And so we've actually, since we're planning on growing even more, have really documented, like, be human, like we actually had in our email follow-up document, like, be human, ask how they are doing. Like, we don't want to just be transactional. So it's really teaching, the admin team who is assisting me with that. I'm like, no, we are human first, and then we talk about the whatever it is, the video shoot, the edit, the whatever.
I love that so much. And it's interesting that we do have to teach people to do it, especially in this new world of AI, when there's bots everywhere. And, sometimes I will ask people, is this really you? Because the AI is getting so, good at mimicking a person's voices. Sometimes you don't even know that.
That's true.
So the human touch is even much more important, I think, at this point.
But it's like commenting, like, if I wrote in the CRM notes, like, they were sick last week.
Yeah.
Like, I want you to comment, how are you feeling? Are you feeling better? If they got a new dog, it's, how is Trousers doing? It's just like whatever the comment is.
So true. And documentation makes that possible.
Exactly.
And, when I'm teaching, that's like, you have to document. When you walk out of an event, now we can do it mostly, through our systems, but I know when I would walk out of an event, I would take those business cards, I would flip them over, and I'd write on the back, her daughter just graduated, or like you said, she's traveling to India next month, so when I talk back to them, I'd have something to reference to make them realize I actually listened to what they said, and I cared about what they said. And I think that's the part that misses when we automate things, which I firmly believe in automation, but I think when we automate things, sometimes we miss that personal touch.
Agreed. I think you need to use automation as a tool, not as an employee.
Yes.
And it's just making sure that it's just in between your personal touches.
So true. And even I know we both use the same system. Yeah. You can put in those reminders, personal call, real call, or what's it called? I forget the terminology it uses, but it's like, pick up the phone and call them.
Be a human.
Just but part of the automation, so it might say text, then email, then send this, but then it's like, make a phone call.
Yeah, internal notification. You need to reach out to this person and say X, Y, Z. So we do the same thing. We'll have automation because you need to stay in front. And there's only so many hours in the day and so much man hours or people hours that you can use. And so, but then, doing those internal notifications, just say, pick up a phone, say hello.
Yes. So what percentage, or at least what portion do you think of the visibility that you help people to attain, what percentage do you think that plays, or what portion do you think that plays in their overall sales? Do you think it really helps them to be more profitable?
It's definitely huge. And it's one of those things where we've talked about, like, wanting to reach back to our clients to try to get tangible numbers, but it's a little hard because you got to think that most people make a sales decision between, the 8th to the 12th touch point. And when you see a video, like, how can we, we see that how many viewpoints, but like, which touch point was that?
Right.
Was that the sales? Was that the reason why they actually did decide to purchase? So it's sometimes hard to quantify exactly. Yeah. But when you think about it, people are going online to look for you.
Yeah.
And so we always want to make sure that introduction and overview video is like at the same caliber of the professionalism that you provide.
That's so true.
Because people are already making judgment calls on you. That's why we have professional headshots.
Yep, true.
Because we just did it on our phone. We'll go, oh, that's the quality that you like.
Thank you.
I'm not going to buy that quality.
No, thank you.
And so it's really about building trust and then, having search and subject matter expert videos. Yes. That's something we really promote. And so getting those SEO scores up. So if someone is searching, how do I sell in my business? How do I make more sales?
Right.
We want your video to pop up. Then you are that subject matter expert. You're the one building trust, which then, like, I've had people whom through YouTube have hired me to train them and things just because I built that trust. So I know personally from my business I've seen it, and I know from my other clients that they sell their products faster because they have a product overview video.
Yeah.
People remember 90% of the information given in a video.
Wow, that's amazing. Can you say that one more time?
People remember 90% of the information given in a video comparative to only 20% when read and 30% when heard, because you're able to use multiple senses. It also is so trusting that they say it's like when they repeat something they hear from a video, they repeat it the way like they hear it from a friend.
Yes. So
like, this is true because I heard it in the video.
Yes, so true. You can see it better like my husband, the internet said.
Right? Yeah. Google says.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the thing. Google says you are the expert in sales.
So true.
When I search sales, when you pop up, and especially if like, oh, I watched one video. Oh, now you have a podcast. Oh, here's a testimonial about you.
Yeah.
It's all those different types of videos. And so that's why you don't I never tell people to do only sales. Mm-hmm. You don't do ads.
Right.
You do 80% value.
Yes, so true.
80% value. Give them free information.
Mm-hmm.
And then, have a little sale in there.
Yeah.
Have a testimonial in there.
I love it. So I always find that people tend to kind of lump sales and marketing into one thing. We know that there is a difference. There's absolutely a symbiotic relationship, but how would you describe the difference between sales and marketing, and where do you think people kind of get tripped up between those two?
Yeah, a lot of times, and even in marketing, it's so general. A lot of times advertising and marketing get put together. And so that's something common all the time where I'm talking to people and I'm having to explain the difference between advertising and marketing.
Right.
And then you have marketing and sales that get siloed. So they need to be, there is symbiotic relationship, and they need to talk to each other. Yeah. So the marketing element is more, it's your brand, it's your story, it's your differentiators, it's those key things that almost frame and prep the sale and make the sale from an emotional level, set those expectations, your customer experience. It's a lot of those things that set up. So what it's doing, ideally, marketing at its highest level, is it's stacking the deck for your sales so that the sales becomes easy or the sales is almost done.
Right.
And the best companies, they really do that, because at the end of the day, marketing, we make all of our buying decisions off of about 15 core emotions and a bunch of other subset emotions, which from the sales process as well. Well, marketers, if we know that, we can leverage that, ourselves and do it in an ethical way that makes sense for our particular brand.
Right.
And then when you're going in and making those emotional connections, well, people are already going over that belief bridge on the sales, and going, oh, well, these are my people. Oh yeah, they identify with my problem, or they can provide the solution, or they like dogs and I like dogs, or they like wine and I like wine, right? They like coffee, I like coffee. If there's something else like that that's even sometimes outside the core of the business, and it gets people emotional, that's what ultimately drives them to make that purchasing decision. So that's when great marketing can hand the baton very happily to sales to finish that race.
Yeah. Where do you think most business owners, especially small business owners, or those who are kind of doing it themselves right now and maybe not have a big company or a company like Uncorked managing that for them, where do you think people are dropping the ball or maybe missing some nuances in that marketing that could lead to more sales?
Yeah, most people just don't simply have a strategy.
There you go.
And so it's like anything else. A lot of people are doing what I call spray and pray.
Yes.
Where they're just throwing money at tactics and effort, and they come from a good place. So I have a lot of empathy for this. I'm not making fun of people, but it's something that we commonly see.
Right.
And so what I tell people is the bottom line plan is to be intentional with what you're doing. And if you have an intention beyond it, then you usually have an awareness that comes from that, and you're trying to at least build a process. Then, win, lose, or draw, whatever, you might make some errors. Nothing's perfect, right? We're failing our way to success as entrepreneurs anyways. Or if you want to say you're not failing, you're learning, right? You're learning and doing those things. But if you're doing them with intention, you're probably going to have a higher batting average from the beginning and get it more right than wrong. And then you can refine because you're on an intentional path, as opposed to just trying other things and then throwing money at the next shiny object or whatever.
Have you ever gone to a networking event or a conference and found that although you made great connections and you walked away with a stack full of business cards, you still didn't have a real plan for how to get a good return on your investment of both time and money? Well, let me tell you, having a networking and sales planner is a way for you to be more intentional about the way that you network.
Hey, I'm Susan Gladstein. I'm a functional nutrition and metabolism specialist, and I got connected with Tish because she is a rock star at systems and sales, and so I downloaded the planner to help get my brain organized as I went through a rebrand and launched a new course. And it's really helped me sort of get things out of my head and onto paper so that I can actually do follow-ups and not just rely on my brain. So far it's rocking my world and making my business systems that were non-existent actually have some sort of structure. So I love it. It's amazing. And I'm so grateful that our paths have crossed.
I've been working with sales professionals for almost 15 years. And one of the things that I find is that when they don't have a plan, they do nothing. They sit at their desk and wonder what to do. Well, with this networking and sales planner, you have profit producing activities for every single day of the week. It tells you where to go, what to say, even gives you prompts as to how to interact with people that you don't know. If you're an introvert and you feel like this isn't for you, I have already thought of you because I understand exactly how introverts think. So this gives you the tools enabling you to be armed with words, with language, so that you can make your networking more profitable.
Hey everyone, Rachel Neighbors here from solo401k.com. And I wanted to take a moment to talk about how awesome this sales networking planner is that Tish put out. So as you can see, I have it on my Remarkable. That's my sort of e-ink planner. And this sales planner has been so helpful for me. So I'm an old school pay-per-click marketer. I do Google ads, Facebook ads, and I know how to turn advertising into profit. But I didn't know how to turn network sales into profit. And when I met Tish, this woman literally wrote the book on networking called, Networking is Not a One-Night Stand. And she's put that experience and that energy and those valuable tips into this networking sales planner. And I just think that it can be so powerful for you in your business. I know it's been really helpful for me and mine. One thing that Tish told me is, Rachel, when you meet someone, put them into your planner and then follow up with them like they're a lead that you've generated on Google Ads or that you followed up with or that you've generated on Facebook. And that has been so helpful and transformative in my business. So thank you, Tish, for this awesome planner.
Maybe you don't even like networking. You say things like, networking doesn't work. Well, let me tell you, when you have a plan in place, you have some intention, and you have the tools to be able to make it work, you will see a different result. My new networking and sales planner is a game changer. It's the difference between you going to an event, wandering around and walking away without any purpose and without any new money, and walking into an event with a plan, with a purpose, and being able to convert new clients into your business. No one wants to feel inauthentic and pushy or even salesy when following up. So frequently we just don't do it at all. Well, the profitable follow-up formula, which is in the back of your networking and sales planner, will give you the tools and the language and the frequency with which you should be following up so that it feels very authentic. It feels genuine and natural both to you and to the people that you're reaching out to. Go to tishtimes.com/planner to get your digital or physical version of your planner.
Hi, my name is Cheryl James from CL James Consulting, and I just want to tell you a little bit about how awesome this networking sales planner is. I started intentionally networking at the beginning of this year. And I have been using my planner on a regular basis, not only to get inspiration, but to track the people I want to meet and the people I have met, and to make sure that I follow up with them from week to week. So if you are looking to network intentionally and hold yourself accountable, this planner is a must-have.
And once you get your planner, you'll also receive a video series that's going to teach you how to maximize your networking and how to use this planner to get the best result and best return on your investment of both time and money. If you are ready to stop wasting time with networking and turn your networking into a sales machine, then go to tishtimes.com/planner and grab your networking and sales planner. So if there's someone listening to this right now and they're kind of saying, what's one thing I can do right now to make the marketing of my business work better than it's working? Like they're kind of, and I know there's probably multiple components that you'd have to look at, but if there's one thing that someone needs to do right now in the world of marketing, what's the one most important thing would you say?
Have that intentionality, and that'll be the if you're not already doing that, be intentional about your foundations.
Yeah.
Go back to the beginning and just have a quick conversation with yourself. If you're a solopreneur, it's like, hey, why did I do this? What do I want to do? What are my goals? And then there's usually makes sense that there's actions that are tied to those goals.
Right.
It's the smaller goals that get to the bigger goals. And then if there's things that you're not good at or you don't know, then ask for help and prioritize, invest in that help. Even as the smallest company, there's things that you shouldn't be doing and don't need to be doing, and you don't need to figure it out.
Yeah.
So collaboration in any way, shape, or form, whether it's mentorship, there's tons of free resources. There's obviously stuff online, but there's a lot of people that want to give. There's a lot of really good collaboration communities here where people want to give back related to that, and then pay for some help. Like I had a 4.0 grade point average. I was great at math, but I was CPA for a reason.
Right.
So I on a high level, I know what he's talking about when we have our conversations.
Right.
But at the end of the day, do I know all the tax codes and all these other things and what's going on?
Yeah, nor should you. Not necessarily.
Once again, give that up. Trust somebody that's a professional and know enough about what they need to do so that you make sure you have the right people helping you. But beyond having a basic knowledge of those type of things, then it's like, let some of it go.
I love
Make
that.
room for what you want to do, and then you're going to have more success regardless because you're leaning into the things of why you wanted to run the company or you built the company to begin with.
So for the average person who's sitting here listening to us right now and saying, I could do that. Do you really believe that everyone could make money online with a podcast? And what, if not, what are the things that people might need to have in advance of that?
That's a good question. And I think, generally speaking, what I love to say is that podcasting is for everybody. I think that podcasting, our kind of brand promise is that podcasting is a really low barrier to entry. It's a great opportunity to build your own platform and use your voice because your voice matters.
Right.
Now, when it comes to can you leverage a podcast to sell, it's going to come down to all the same things that you're talking about in every single episode of this podcast of people struggle. People struggle with putting themselves out there. A lot of people start podcasts. The biggest mistake, I guess, with selling on a podcast that I see is that people who host podcasts don't talk about their own offers.
So good.
So we don't know. we don't know what do you actually do?
Yeah.
Right? Like you highlight your guests so much, but we don't actually know, not you specifically, actually you have some great solo episodes where you really emphasize your expertise. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
And I learned a lot and I'm like excited about listening to your show, but this is a continued issue that the proverbial you have on a podcast.
I believe that. And to be honest with you, I had to learn that. But in the meantime, what are some of the ways that we could be using our podcast as part of our sales funnel? What are some things besides not just showcasing who we are and what we do? What are some other things that we should be doing in order to use it as part of our sales funnel?
I'm going to speak again specifically to the nature of having guests on your show because I know you do have guests. Obviously, you do have guests on your show.
Girl. Yeah.
So I think a really good opportunity, and you had a whole beautiful episode in season 1 about networking and the power of networking in sales. Mm-hmm. The people who are coming on your podcast should be people that you either have established relationships with or you want continued relationships with, and they need to want to have a relationship with you. Yeah. So not having somebody who wants to come in, share, do a book tour, right? And share like, here's what I buy it. And then they are like, talk to you never, right? So one of the things that I do personally for my own podcast is I have a form that people fill out when they want to come on. So do you. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I ask is, do you want to be added to the email list? It's not required. Right. But if they say no, they're not coming on. Yeah. Because that tells me a lot about how much they do or don't want to be a part of my world. If you know you don't want to be a continued part of my world, why would I invite you to family dinner? So true. But vice versa. The people who are like, yes, please, let me be part of the fam, right? Then those are people who, they may or may not ever be your clients, but they're going to send you people.
That's so true. So good. And you bring up a great point, because I've learned a different or a better way to do this now, but I joined a couple of like groups where people are podcasting and they're showing you how to get guests and everything. And somehow my link just got put in that group. And so I started getting people on my calendar. I'm like, who are you? And why are you at my kitchen table? Exactly. And so now if I don't know someone, I absolutely interview them before they are even, given an opportunity to be invited to be on the podcast, because like you said, this isn't someone that I would spend time with any other time.
Yeah, you're not going to come spend the night in my house with my family.
And I'm like, and we don't ever want to see you again, right? Exactly. And that's such a great point. And I almost felt bad about it, because I was like, no chemistry, not my person, doesn't have my audience, do not love my audience either. They don't have my audience that I want to reach, nor do they really want to care about my audience. Right. Not a good fit. Right. But I bet you there are people who feel like there's a requirement to say yes to people just because they need to fill up their slots. And so what do you say to that?
I mean, I definitely think that is probably part of it. And if you're having trouble filling spots, then we have to find another content plan, right? And a marketing plan for reaching people, because I hope that you've had this experience. For me, I'm for my own podcast, I have recorded all the way through April already. And I have a long list of people who I could interview who have applied who weren't necessarily like my top choice fit, but absolutely could bring them on. So I think I could podcast for a year, right? Yeah. And I think that, so that's part of it, is we need to look at like, why are you having trouble filling your guest spots? And there's a lot of reasons why that might be. Yeah. And then if you're actually not having trouble filling them, you just feel like maybe that's an obligation, then, or if you think that's how it's supposed to be. I've actually gotten into like arguments on threads with people who are guests, though they like to be guests on podcasts, who they say, of course I don't want an ongoing relationship with the host. I'm trying to do a tour. I want to be on 50 podcasts this year. I'm not trying to build relationships. I'm like, why would I have you on my show?
Absolutely.
So you can give the exact same canned interview you gave 49 other times on other shows, and then you're never going to talk to me or my audience again unless they buy from you.
Yeah. No, thank you.
That doesn't feel good.
Not at all.
So, I mean, coming back down to just from a core values point, what are your core values? Find other people who share those core values, and those are great guests.
Thanks for listening to the Sold Out Sales Podcast. I would be so appreciative if you would show me and my amazing guests some love by leaving a review on your favorite podcasting platform. Also, go over to tishtimes.com/resource page and make sure you pick up your sales and networking handbook, especially for introverts. Also, I'd love to continue this conversation, so make sure you connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I'll see you back here next week.